And at this time, I'll ask you to please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Frieda? Okay, you can hear us. Let me just put him in the microphone here real quick. Mr. Frieda is participating remotely. He is out of state. Mr. Frieda, I assume that you are alone at this time?
I am.
Okay, we are on public. We have opened up. The rest of the board is here. Debbie Pate is in the audience. We're also being joined by Jana and Diana, and of course Sherry and Mr. Shagnon has us being taped. So thank you for joining us remotely.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody.
And I'd like to welcome Mr. Butch Lewis to the board. We had a vacancy that we didn't anticipate, and appreciate you showing an interest in it. I know that you've served with us before, and certainly familiar with the Farmington School District just a little bit. So
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis, for joining us
Thank you.
until March. Anyway, thank you. All right. We're also going to open up the public hearing for the purpose of expending funds from the SAU 61 Technology Fund established in 1999, the Farmington School Board, our agents to expend, and also for the purpose of accepting unanticipated revenues in an amount that will exceed $5,000. Typically, we leave these public hearings open for about an hour. Ms. Gazer, you'll be the timekeeper there, and we'll still conduct board business while we have the public hearing open. If there's anybody that wants to ask any questions about this or speak during the public hearing, you can come in at any time, give me a wave if you're in the audience, and we'll take a break from our normal regular business so that we can address any concerns or questions that you have.
So to start off, I would ask the board to rescind its vote previously to accept E-rate funds, and then also there was a vote to deposit them into the Technology Trust Fund, so that we can, obviously, we're going to take care of it through a hearing. So if we could take care of that matter, that would be appreciated.
I will make the motion to rescind the previous motion for deposit into the CRF of up to $10,000.
Correct. I'll second.
Motion by Mrs. Moran. I had a second from Ms. McElhenney. Thank you, Mr. Frieda. Any discussion on this?
Could we add to that motion as well, the accepting of $10,000? Because I believe up to $10,000 is the mark by which we have to have a public hearing. So if we could just add that to the motion.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, second.
Friendly amendment.
Any discussion on this?
You got the amendment, Sherry?
And we ended up getting clarification on this.
We did.
Mr. Tim Brown, who's a former Budget Committee member, pointed out that he wasn't sure we had actually done that correctly, and he was correct. So, Mr. Brown, thank you for your help in that matter. We did get clarification, so we want to make sure we do it correctly. All those in favor? Aye. Any abstentions?
I'm going to
You
abstain. I'm not
Mr. Lewis?
familiar with it.
Okay. All right. We've done the pledge. Any public participation at this time? Hearing none, we'll go into the approval of minutes from August 5th, 2019, public session.
So moved.
So moved by Mrs. Moran.
Second.
Second by Ms. McElhenney. Discussion on these.
Did you get my changes, Sherry? Vice chair, not associate chair. Okay. I just did it at like 4 o'clock. Sorry.
Anything else? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor as amended?
Aye.
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 And
Abstain.
one abstention. Okay. Oops, that's all my minutes. August 5th, non-public session 1.
So moved.
So moved by Ms. McElhenney.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Moran. Discussion on these.
I don't know if, my name's mentioned twice, so I don't know if you meant to put Jana Mel in there. I don't recall if you were there for this particular session. Non-public session 1, August 5th.
In the same correction.
remember, Jana?
I'm not sure what it was about.
Yeah, it's,
Well, for non-public session 2, you were there, so I don't know if that might lend in.
Yeah, I think it was supposed to be both of them.
Yeah.
So we could just make the correction of taking my name off for that first listing and...
On non-public session 1?
Correct. Yeah. And then adding Mrs. Mellon.
okay, all those in favor as amended?
Aye.
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 And one abstention. Okay, August 5th, non-public session 2.
So moved.
So moved by Mrs. Moran,
Second.
second by Mr. Frieda. Discussion on these. Just the same change
Yeah.
to your title.
Yeah.
All those in favor as amended? Aye.
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 And one abstention? Yes to Lewis. And August 5th, non-public session 3.
So moved.
So moved by Mrs. Moran, second by Ms. McElhenney. Discussion on these.
Just the same change.
Yep, same change in the title. All those in favor as amended? Aye.
Aye.
And one abstention. Non-public session 4 from August 5th.
So moved. Second.
So moved by Mrs. McElhenney and second by Mrs. Moran. Discussion on these. Same change to your title.
Yeah, there was one that it had Miss McElhenney doing a first and a second, but I made the corrections online, so I don't know which set of minutes that was. It was not this set.
Okay.
Might have been.
Everybody else set with these? All those in favor as amended?
Aye.
Aye. You all set, Mr. Frieda? Okay. And one abstention. And non-public session 5 from August 5th.
So moved.
So moved by Ms. McElhenney,
Second.
second by Mrs. Moran. Discussion? Just the same change to the title.
That says
Yeah.
non-public session 1 at
yes.
the top.
And it's,
It should
Oh.
be 5.
So at the top, it
That's
should say
5.
5, yeah.
Yeah.
This is actually the correct meeting minutes, because we make a motion to come out of non-public 5 at the end, so it's just
Okay.
the top that's not a problem.
so then what was 1? Are they all,
No, one...
one's not the same issue?
No, one is, if I'm remembering
Although it looks like the same wording.
It's the exact same wording, that's why.
Yeah, it's
I'm-
got you in there
I see, I
listed
see, I
twice.
see.
10:30, 10:30.
So let's table 5 and see if that's favorable
Yeah,
to the
why
board.
don't we, so we can
Is
just,
that's not the
we
one
gotta
that I
make sure
did.
if we need to
Yeah.
renumber these.
All right.
There's a
I'll make-
motion to table?
So moved.
So moved by Mrs. Moran, second by Ms. McElhenney. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, now, we do have August 13th in the packet. We didn't have it on the agenda. We certainly can if the board wishes to approve them tonight, or,
However, I do believe we're missing non-public session 1.
I have it.
You have that, okay.
Yeah, it was sealed, so.
Okay. So at the board's pleasure.
And I have 5 as well.
does the
Okay,
board
so you
wish
have
to
1 and 5.
approve these tonight, or put them on the next agenda?
We can put them on the next agenda since I don't have them in the
Okay.
packet.
Is that a,
Oh, no, okay.
well, we don't
You
have
have
to,
them?
we don't have to motion because they're not on the agenda.
Correct.
So we'll put those on the next agenda. Thank you.
Oh, it is here, I apologize.
Well, if you're not ready, it's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, new business. We have a evaluation policy review and evaluation template for a superintendent position.
Right, so if you take a look at your packet, you'll see a couple of stapled handouts. The first one, based on some discussions we'd had with the board regarding being interested in kind of looking at the superintendent evaluation and then also looking at perhaps policy that would guide that. We did have an HR consultant that put together a policy for you to consider. In addition, there's also a superintendent evaluation form that is there for your consideration as well. I put them on here, asking, since it's their first appearance, an acceptance as a first read, if
I'll make
that's
the motion to accept
acceptable
this
to the board.
first read.
I will second.
Motion by Mrs. Moran to accept this as a first read, second by Ms. McElhenney. Discussion on this document.
Just a point of clarification, there is a long form, there's also a short form at the back of it. So I don't think that they're meant to both be used together. I think it would be the board's choice as to go with the long form or the short form. At least that was my understanding of the HR person's recommendation.
Yep, I agree.
So this is a HR person that we did some work with through MRI.
Correct.
And is this based on some other districts' eval policies?
She had a lengthy conversation with us regarding, she reviewed not only the job description that we had for the superintendent, but she looked kind of back at what we've used in the past. We were able to find some older rubrics, not necessarily for the superintendent, but for other administrators that may or may not have been used in the past. They were just archived. And she kind of made a compilation of what she felt was the best couple of options for us to go, depending on what the board chose to do. And some of them are combinations of other districts. Some of them are just best practice kind of things. But she said, you know, it kind of depends on which way the board would like to do it. Her recommendation was that the evaluation, the full evaluation should be done at least annually, but there should be check-in evaluations. So, you know, maybe there's a potential to use the short form as an interim, you know, quarterly or whatever you decide, and then use the long form for the annual. But she felt that, you know, it was a pretty comprehensive form. She looked at a bunch of them. She thought it pretty much touched on all the areas that we had in our description.
What is the current tool that we use now?
I have what
Is there
we
one
were
in-
intending on using.
Intending on using, but have we had one in the past, a superintendent evaluation?
We had an online form that we were using.
We were using an online form. We actually use this form. And we'd have to give you access to it so you can see it. Well, there's a copy.
This is what we,
This is the current one that we use, and now we're looking at revamping this and looking at a different tool.
yes.
We,
So-
go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, we all answered questions, and then we came together and kind of scored how we thought the superintendent was performing. Does that sound good?
I don't think anyone was in love with the
Yeah.
with the tool.
The evaluation.
You know, it's as you know, Mr. Lewis, you've done a lot of teacher
Yeah.
evals and stuff in the past. The tool is sometimes not so good. You know, it doesn't touch on some of the areas that you want to look at.
Okay.
So we used what we had, but we're interested in maybe looking at a different tool.
And you said you used this one?
No, we.
Not yet, I thought you said you used
This
it.
is something, we decided to utilize municipal resources to provide us with some HR help in the absence of a superintendent over the past few
Okay.
months. To just kind of take a look at job descriptions and evaluation process and clean up some things that were kind of, there was a lot of gaps and a lot of things that, you know, we wanted to see spruced up a bit. So we kind of tapped into their expertise. Any other questions on this, so we can just, we can adopt it as a first read? Okay, all those in favor of adopting this as a first read, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Also, in your packet,
You can have that one. I
Okay.
you have two models for principal evaluations. One of them obviously is geared to another school district, and you can see that in the first line of it. The next one is another, you know, evaluation example in terms of, you know, just kind of having a clear means by which to communicate to any administrator the level of performance that they're currently functioning at. Again, the same sort of idea that obviously that there's a rubric attached to both of them. The idea being that obviously there's an overall evaluation, but certainly there are check-ins during the course of the school year, so that everybody can kind of be very well aware of where they are and what areas need work. So I offer this to you for first read and further investigation.
Now, this too came out of the work?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. And she also attached, she had also attached the 2012 Evaluation Task Force report that came from the DOE. Virginia Berry kind of gave an idea of what types of things to integrate into your evaluation process.
Any
I'll make a motion to accept as a first read.
motion by Ms. McElhenney to accept as a first read?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Moore. In discussion?
Yeah, are we accepting both of these? Or did I miss which one we're picking? They're not the same thing.
No, you're right. They're not the same thing. I guess it would be the board's pleasure.
So there are two choices.
There are two options. Certainly, at this point, perhaps you could consider them, or indicate that you've done a first read on them, and then at your final read, you're going to make an adoption in terms of
Which one?
Yep, exactly. That's what I was looking for.
That was my,
Okay, so we're actually agreeing to look at both of them as first read.
correct.
Correct.
Okay.
That's what we're being asked, yes. Any discussion on them at this point? Mr.
School
Lewis?
districts are very, very different from what's on here to evaluate someone based on a Farmington type of district. I don't know if there's other options to look at. Here we are, this is our first read. Who did the research on this?
This is the same woman that did the...
So we're taking somebody from the outside, this is what we want.
Well, this is her recommendation, something to
Recommendation.
consider, and certainly you would
Yep.
amend it to fit,
Whatever you
Farmington's...
want.
Right, that's what I'm saying, very different type of dynamics between the two.
I'd almost like to see the administrative team weigh in on it a little bit. I mean, and look at the tool. And look
Yeah.
at, is this a tool that's going to help me
And maybe
grow?
give us some feedback on it.
Yeah, and give us some feedback.
Okay.
But we can, actually, you feel more comfortable doing that, or do you want to adopt it as a first read and then have them
Still
look
be a
at
first
it?
read, or we can table it.
I'd table it.
Yeah.
Table?
Motion to table by Mr. Lewis. Is that a motion? Okay.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Moore, and the tabling is not a
It's not
discussable motion. All those in favor of tabling? Aye. Okay.
So is my direction to get some input from...
The administrative team,
Yeah.
are you
And when would you
looking
like
to implement this year as your evaluation tool? Because you're looking at day one next week.
Right.
Table it, this is going to get put back on the table till September. So you got to do an evaluation tool during the school year.
It has to be done by the end of the school year.
Well, I'm just saying, you don't have a tool in place when school starts, so
No, we do
technically,
have a tool in place, yes.
We do have a
There's one
tool.
currently.
This would be discussion as to whether or not we want to go in one of
Correct.
these directions.
but if you're
Yeah.
in midstream trying to change something, that's what I meant,
Well,
I'd like to compare
since
it to
most
the
of the
tool that we
teams
already
know,
have.
Yeah, true.
It might be nice to compare it to the tool that we're using now.
Okay.
So if we could get a copy of that as well.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Do we vote on that? We did, yes.
We did.
Okay. School board meeting schedule.
Correct. We'd like to see if we could pin down the dates going through the rest of the school year that we can expect to get together.
It's typically the first and the third.
Yeah, I recall there was a proposal by Ms. Cardinal to actually put together a schedule, and then it got tabled because of absences on board and vacancies and stuff like that. So just for planning, especially going into budget, could be helpful.
I think if we can, I kind of want to keep it on the table for now. Well, that was a change, though. That was a proposed change
Right, she wanted
to a different night.
to a different night.
Let's talk about the next meeting. It would normally be September 2nd, which is Labor Day.
Correct.
So what's the board's, does the board, there are 5 Mondays in September. Does the board want to do September 9th and 23rd?
Yes.
Yeah?
Which for me,
That work for you, Stan?
it does.
Okay. 23rd's my birthday, so
Bring the
I can
cake.
bring the cake and,
Bring the kids back there.
yeah, let's do the September 9th and 23rd. But beyond that, I want us to hold off till our next
You're in
meeting.
August. Your calendar that you have up is August.
No, but I had
All right,
September.
okay.
Yeah,
Just making sure.
yeah.
Okay,
I'd like to wait,
okay.
okay? I don't mind setting it, we're gonna have to set budget season and all that too, so. Okay,
But you also kind of coordinate with the town.
well, they do every Monday now. We used to
They do every one?
Yeah,
Okay. Used to
they've
be
been working
coordinated,
every
yeah.
Monday, yeah. So, okay, thank you. Job description for admin assistant school offices.
Yes, and I apologize, that's supposed to be in your packet, but I'm looking through right now and I'm not seeing it
have
in
it.
my
I have it.
packet. So it could be it's just mine, excellent.
Okay.
Wonderful. I can look at it online. So due to the fact that we've had an administrative assistant from up at Valley View move into the SAU, we have a job opening up there, so certainly we want to have an opportunity to take a look at the job description. Or the principal up at the Valley View vetted it, Mr. Roberts, so we're asking the board to take a peek at it, see if it's something they would be willing to approve again.
A motion to accept as a final read.
Motion by Mrs. Moran to accept as a final read. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. McElhenney. Discussion? I guess my first question is, for the folks that are currently in those positions who started on July 1, how different is this?
I don't think it's significantly different, just looking at the qualifications of...
It's more of the formatting. We've moved to a standardized format with our job descriptions that include some legal language we have to have relative to exempt and non-exempt and equal opportunity employer. And so we're trying to unify the job descriptions so that they match. The bulleted points in the middle that have to do with the job functions are virtually unchanged from the version that was there before.
Okay. Have the qualifications changed?
They have not.
No, they have not.
Okay. Terms of employment changed?
Nope.
Okay. I want us to be careful on changing something like that.
So this position's been posted?
Yes.
I would recommend that we change experience with that MS Word and the Google Docs and stuff like that. It should really be working knowledge of. Experience can be many things, mostly bad. So I would like us to really request that people have working knowledge of these tools.
What part do you
Right
want,
here.
Stan?
Minimum qualifications, last bullet.
Okay,
I think that's where he's getting it from.
yeah.
Yeah, just with experience with it, so I could have worked this job where I used it and I didn't know what I was doing.
Okay.
But I have experience with it, and
Right.
I truthfully say that.
Yeah, okay, so you'd like to change experience to working knowledge?
I would.
Okay,
I'll accept that as a...
all right, anything else on this? So the motion was to accept this as a final read. Mrs. Moran has accepted that amendment. All set with Ms. McElhenney. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll let Jana speak to the next piece. There's budget development schedule.
This may be a little earlier than you're used to seeing it, but I did get a copy from DRA. They have set the SB2 Towns annual meeting schedule for March 2020. That was one of the items in your packet. And the other item in your packet is, I found last year's budget development schedule from 2019-20. I would need to change this for 2021. We're making couple of proposed changes to the beginning part of the schedule in that we're looking to maybe meet with individual departments on a particular schedule in a particular week, so that we provide them with an opportunity of when we're going to need to do this, and we can look at each part of the budget as they come up, rather than trying to have everybody working on the same thing and then have to sit down at a marathon to go through all of it. So we're looking at changing that a little bit. The areas that didn't come out very well highlighted on your copy, but in the middle, the ones that all have X's, those are basically all based on school board meetings and budget meetings, and that's where I would need the input of the board and the budget committee. The ones down below that are changed relative to the last petition day for warrant articles, et cetera, are set by the DRA schedule that's attached. So it's, we can certainly take a look at it, and I'll think about it and come back to the table, but I think we're probably going to move ahead with the early part of the schedule for building level budgets, just because we need to kind of jump on that.
Such a turnover in administration. Good luck.
It's going to be tough.
And getting a good, accurate budget need put forth.
We will do our level best.
Yeah, that's all we can ask, but with only a couple of weeks, and you're asking for budgets due.
Some of the people that we designed it based on the people that have been here the longest. So, for example, the transportation and the SAU budget, we're the first ones that are putting it forward, and those people have not changed. So we tried to move things out as we left the building budgets for the very last week, which gives them extra time.
Like, well, you got a curriculum budget due on the 18th, and we haven't got a curriculum.
I think based on the applicants we have, that they'll be able to pull
Okay.
that together.
And it's a smaller budget that they're working with.
Yeah, they're just doing
It's one section.
So it's just informational at this point?
Well, it's informational. It's something that I would like you to revisit next time, because we do need to start kind of nailing down when we're supposed to present to you the budget, and when the budget committee, I don't know who normally reaches out to the budget committee, or whether it's based on our
When's the next budget
timeline.
committee meeting?
Next week, next
Okay.
Wednesday.
Do you think you could go to a budget committee meeting coming up at some point, so that you can kind of
I can certainly,
feelers out on this?
I can put feelers out on it, but their meeting is going to come after you have done your review.
Right,
So it's
right.
dependent on what you decide.
Right.
They can pick a date, but if we haven't met together and you haven't reviewed it, that date's going to change.
Well, I mean, our next meeting
Well,
is
it's all-
September 9th.
You need to work together between the budget committee, because you hate to go in there with a budget, and they're gonna shoot it down. You gotta, what their needs are, what are their expectations of the school budget. Otherwise, you're working against each other.
Well, I think we're trying.
We've done that in the past.
Yeah, the one thing we're trying to just nail down is what the dates
The dates are.
Yeah.
But as they go through, because I can remember shoot for the moon and hopefully get something, yet every year it was level funded. Well, why didn't you tell us that prior to putting the budget together?
Well, last year, our budget committee raised our budget.
Yeah, well, hopefully they're all back as members this year, but it's a lot of work putting a good, solid budget together, only to get it shot down by budget committee because they didn't want a certain percentage to go up, to work hand in hand. This is why I'm saying we should probably set up a meeting prior to putting the budgets together to see what their expectations are this year.
That's not a bad idea, to have a joint meeting.
We talked about having a joint
Yeah.
meeting prior, that a while ago,
Right.
actually. I could reach out to, the chair is now Jody, right?
Yeah.
Reach out to her again about having a joint meeting.
I don't think she's going to be at the next meeting, budget meeting. But maybe another day other than.
Well, I can send her an email.
Yeah.
And try to set something up. That's not a bad
Yeah.
idea.
That's a good idea.
Yep. All right. So do you want, can we just put this for
September 9th.
adoption dates on the September 9th agenda? Or do you,
Yeah, that's fine, that's fine.
I mean,
with-
you're going to do your internal stuff
We're
anyway.
gonna
so-
move ahead with the
Yeah.
internal stuff.
Yep.
But by the time we get down to like October, we should, the end of September, we should probably know where we're moving
Well,
forward.
I have no problem accepting that September 9th.
Right, yeah.
It's fine. In the meantime, when we have something set up, I'll reach out to her, I'll send her an email. So. All right. Next.
Yes, the next part is just, so the general assurances for our participation in the federal grants have been signed and uploaded. Just to make aware that obviously when we sign that, we're making a statement that we're not making any false or fictitious or, fraudulent information placed in there. We're not omitting any material facts, and that any of this obviously is subject to penalties. So just to make the board aware, that's been signed, it's been uploaded, and just to get into the meeting minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
MOU regarding step adjustment.
Yes, this is something we've worked with, business officers work with Laurel. We've also brought it to the board last week in non-public to get an interpretive decision and for the board to weigh in about the interpretation of the MOU that was adopted in April of 2018. The original MOU in the teachers' FTA union booklet was rescinded and replaced in April of 2018. And there was some lack of clarity as to what was considered off-scale. So we asked the board to weigh in. Mr. Frieda weighed in last week. We then met with Ms. Vachon. She was generous enough to share her summer time with us to come in and review the MOU to help interpret that. And then we took a look at several files of people that we weren't sure were placed correctly based on that MOU. We came to a consensus that there were 10 teachers that needed to be adjusted to a different step. They'd been placed on step 17 and they should have been placed on step 17 plus. So we have contacted all of them individually. We made an adjustment to this contract before any pay went out this year. Unfortunately, it also the ramifications are that we owe some back pay because the way that the increases were scheduled in year 1 and year 2 of the CBA, it was based on a differential between the starting step and the proposed end step divided by 3. So by increasing their step amount, or increasing their final step, the amount that they were paid in year 1 was short and the amount they were paid in year 2 was short. So I've passed along a spreadsheet that you can pass down to the board that kind of shows the impact of that. Those amounts were not budgeted, so we are going to have to find those amounts somewhere in our current budget.
So, and this may just be a question that we can't answer, but can we figure out how this error was made, or is it just too difficult to figure out? I mean, I know that you're new in this position. So this was just essentially a calculating error, or a...
There was a sheet, an addendum that was created in 2017 that has been given to each each teacher with their contract since 2017. That sheet has not changed. It's the same document that was prepared in 2017. It shows your step 1 and the amount, year 1, year 2, and year 3. Shows any longevity. It shows all of the details of your pay. As for how they arrived at step 17, I really can't say. I don't know. But when we reviewed the files and we counted the years, I counted, Diana counted independently, and then we brought Laurel in and she counted, and they weren't placed correctly.
So mine, can I speak?
Go ahead, Stan.
So it seems to me like anybody that was over step 17, the last step, it was just a calculating error that the business administrator at the time forgot that they should get a 2% raise if they were on step essentially like 18 and 2% for 4 for 19. We don't have those steps. but we do have built in that they do get an increase even though they're at the step 17 and above. So I think it was just a calculating error, oversight, that caused it.
Yes?
It's speculation on our
Oh,
part.
it is.
I really can't say. I know that some people that did have 17 plus were placed
It
appropriately.
should have been on 19. It was just a failure to recognize the right calculation for the final pay scale that they would calculate by, and then that would ruin the dividing by 3 and the total and all that stuff, so that would get carried on over the next 3 years.
Mrs. Vashon is here. I'm not asking you to speak, but are you satisfied with this? Yeah, okay.
Just to let the record
It's
know.
odd
Mrs. Vashon agreed.
It's odd that nobody caught it, well, I guess it was caught, actually, one, so, okay, thank you.
It was very complicated.
And so-
Sometimes it's difficult to-
And so that the,
it's easy to get to difference there.
right, and so that the public knows, the figure to remedy this is $36,753. Okay. So I guess we need to take a vote, technically, or do we need to?
I think the MOUs between you and Laurel, do you normally vote on an MOU? Or is it just between the board chair and the FTA?
I'll let the board,
We all have a copy.
you all have a copy, I think you can vote to authorize me to sign it.
I'll make a motion to authorize Mr. Shagman to sign the MOU between the Farmington Teachers Association and the Farmington School Board.
Motion by Mrs. Moran, second by Ms. McElhenney. Discussion on this?
Just a few follow-up questions. First off, it's only the teachers that this issue resulted in. And secondly, no idea yet where we're going to be finding that money from?
Not at this point. My auditor, who was due to meet with me last Wednesday to move forward and kind of be my guide through the end of the year process and my sanity check, had a death in his family, and he was unable to meet with me. He reached out to me today. We're still trying to pin down a date for him to come. And I apologize for the delay, but I really feel it's responsible for me to get, because I wasn't here in the year, and because for the full year, and because I don't know a lot about the audit and how the audit happened last year, there are some issues that have to do with adjusting entries that were made at the end of the year that I really would like some clarity on before I give you a number.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more discussion?
Of course, a lot of that, of the $36,000 can possibly be found in your salary line with new hirees at a lower rate that you already budgeted last year for this year.
Yeah.
It's entirely possible.
Yeah, I'm not sure you're gonna get all that, but
Right. There's
hopefully
some.
the new administration, there'll be some monies available there.
Okay, any more discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Ms. Vashon, do you want to
Sign.
sign this as well tonight? You need to read this? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. SB 140, 142.
Yes, so there was recently a House bill passed requiring free menstrual products in all public schools. It's an unfunded mandate. We have already begun, actually, Mrs. Mellon has already begun investigating how we can put those receptacles in place in order for all children of that age to be able to access products that are free of charge. So we've found an organization that can put the hardware in place, and then also we'll keep track of keeping it supplied. But again, it's an unanticipated cost, but it is required.
So to give you a sense of what we're talking about, the law actually only states middle school and high school. But I happen to believe that sometimes young bodies don't follow grade levels quite as neatly as we might want, and so I feel that we should at least have some receptacle at Valley View, one, in a place that kids can get at it without needing to ask. The other ones are all at Valley View. We have to put one in every unisex and every female bathroom and locker room. So we've done a count. We have 7 that we would need to install at Henry Wilson, and we have 3 that we would need to install at Farmington High School. The company that we got our most recent quote from, someone contacted me today, and I haven't had a chance to get back with them to see what their proposal is. These are battery-operated machines that would be installed in the bathrooms. The company would be responsible for the machines. They would own the machines. They would be responsible for the batteries. They would be responsible for stocking the product. They would come in and they would maintain those machines on a cycle. And it would work out to be about $25 a month per machine for that. So I estimate it's going to be about $284 a month total with this particular vendor. So around $3,000 a year. We're going to need to, I have another woman that reached out to me, and like I said, I do want to reach out to her and see what her delivery model looks like. But I will bring that to you as soon as I have it, and we'll obviously find a good price as best we can do.
And this was not budgeted for it as well?
No, it was state law.
Mandated, yeah, absolutely, after the fact, which is typical.
Okay, thank you.
We have no policies on tonight, so I apologize for keeping that on the agenda. We did want to mention an issue that we've been working on the last couple of days. The outgoing director of curriculum instruction did not expend all funds that were in our 2018-2019 Title I grant. That grant needs to be expended by August 30th, so this month. We are working very quickly to try to find things that make educational and programmatic sense to put in place and then to pay out. So things like subscriptions, things like books that we can order and have immediately.
One of the things that we were looking for a student was an iPad. Is that something?
We can buy, yep. We're looking at Chromebooks, so we've already looked at technology. We certainly can look at
What's the
purchasing.
amount?
It is about $65,000 that we need to spend.
We're going to carry over the amount that we can carry over.
The max that's counting the max rollover that we can roll over. So the $65,000 has to go out the door by August 30th. So we have spent the better part of 2 days trying to find some things that will really help our students that fit within the confines of the grants, because there are, we have a couple of really great ideas. So we're trying to pull all that together at this point.
It can't be staffed, correct? Has to be.
No,
Right, it needs
because
to be expended. No. So we can't do that.
No supplanting.
So just an FYI for the board.
Okay,
So no policies.
any other new business?
We do have financials,
Oh,
if you wanted to take a peek at those.
okay.
And if you would rather move on, because I know you have a long night, I'm happy to entertain questions by email, should you have any about those. If you want to send them to me, I can get back to you about them.
Do you have anything in particular that you want to highlight? And we've got some time here.
No, other than the fact that we, of course, are still in the active process of hiring, so
Right.
some of the encumbrances for salary will change as we bring people on. We have some discrepancies in areas of benefits, which is not unexpected. Somebody that formerly had a family plan goes down to a single or a two-person or such and such. So you'll see some lines in there that are either over or unexpended from where we budgeted, but overall net, we're hoping that we can, that we'll come out pretty close to where we had budgeted when you look at the whole district. So, It's very early in the year.
Yeah.
You know, it's very early, so.
You said with hiring, so just while we're on that topic, where are we at as far as, I know we've got some interviews for an administrative position later on this evening. Where are we at with either para positions or teaching positions?
So we have 2 paraeducators to bring forward to you tonight. That
Okay.
is to address student needs for 2 students who have moved into district that require one-to-one paraeducators. We are still looking to hire 1 special education teacher at Valley View. We were still looking to hire 1 math teacher. So we only have,
I was just on Ed Jobs. The only 2 positions on Ed Jobs were first and second shift custodian. You might want to check
okay,
that.
that, I'll check that because I know as of Friday we had them all posted, so it's
Yeah, other
entirely
than that, it was
possible
just
that it expired.
substitute positions.
Okay, I will double check that, thank you. Those are the ones I'm aware of at this time.
Okay. Any questions about financials or?
The Title I funds that you said were left over, can we use that for after-school busing, or?
It really has to be used, it has to apply to the service period between now and August 30th. So unless we're sending a bus out between now and August 30th, no.
Okay.
We did have one, oh, sorry, go Linda, go ahead.
No, I was just saying that I've already communicated with Jana about the Budget Committee, had some questions going forward, but I think that you've answered them all, and I'll bring them forward to the Budget Committee for you.
Great, well, let me know.
Yeah, I will, definitely.
Okay, something else?
So under old business, if we didn't have anything else on financials, Mr. Henry had asked at our last meeting to find out about the price of teacher lunches. And Jana did go out and get some information on that.
Yep, it's in your packet, but basically, this Bill Van Zant, just to give you some perspective, is the person who handles all of the budgets for all of the cafe services. He's the financial person behind the scenes there. So he had said that as discussed and as presented in the budget, Cafe Services is recommending a price increase for adult meals to $4, from $3.50 to $4. And it's based not only on the cost to produce the meals, but the lack of state or federal reimbursement for that meals. In other words, they're not eligible meals for commodity purposes. So it's basically what you can't use the commodities to produce that meal. So he said, should the district decide not to increase the price, the program would be subsidizing adult meals. So that is the answer from Cafe Services.
And there was, I think, in your packet somewhere, 1 sheet of paper, which might be at the back of your financials. I just managed to find mine. But if you did. So based on that, I guess I'd turn to the board and ask if you would like to reconsider the price for teacher lunches and raising it the recommended 25 cents to $4.
It was 50 cents.
Or 50
Total
cents, my
50.
apologies.
Yep.
50 cents.
And we raised it
10.
10.
10.
Yep.
I mean, in light of this, rather than putting it on the taxpayer, I mean, I think that really, it's probably the prudent thing to do.
I don't understand.
Can I see these documents that from Cafe Services? I can't find it in the packet.
Let me look and see if I can put it up there for you.
They're using the same commodities for an adult meal as they are for a student meal.
They can't use federal commodities to do that. That's the cost of the federal commodities have to go just to students. So if, they can't apply that cost there.
Also, we did discuss, too, that we did meet with Cafe Services today regarding some other issues. They don't have that many teacher lunches that they do, so this is a smaller population of individuals. But nevertheless, I think it...
Wasn't the question, what does a teacher lunch cost? Did they answer that?
The answer...
He said $4 is the price that we should be charging. The labor cost to
That's
put...
what it costs them? I mean, they just said they want us to charge $4. So
Yeah.
what does it cost them to make that lunch? That's what we asked. Did they provide that answer?
This is the answer they provided. I'll forward you the
Working to
email.
get that to you.
So they didn't provide the answer to the question, which was, what does the lunch cost to prepare and serve? They answered the question, what do you want? What do we want to charge for the lunch? It's two completely different questions.
Well, I'll send you the email and you can take a look at it.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, this one right here?
Yeah.
Did you hear it when they read it, Stan?
Yeah, I did. But it sounded like again, their answer is that they recommend that we raise
Right.
it to $4.
Right, no, you're right. There's no answer that clarifies how much it costs for an adult lunch.
Which is what Mr. Henry asked. Because if it only costs them $3.50, then they're still making money. They're not making what they want to make, but they're making money. That's why Mr. Henry asked the question.
Well, I think
we would not be subsidizing if it cost them less than $3.75 for the lunch.
I think their second sentence is pretty clear, though. It says, should the district decide not to increase the price, the program would be subsidizing adult meals.
But they didn't really give a cost to justify that. They just said we're supposed to take their word for it.
Well, they did say today that not all meals cost the same thing. It's an average. It costs more to produce some meals than it does to others, so they couldn't give a specific, but they felt that $4 was a good, an average of what it does cost them to provide the food to do the meal.
So should that be the cost that we charge everyone for a full-price meal? I mean, it's the same meal.
That's what that whole PLE tool was that I brought to you.
Right, but-
It was $3.75. We should, according to PLE, and that includes subsidies. So $3.75 is the cost, even getting the government subsidies for our student meals. And we are, we're charging, lower than that. So that is the way it goes, and this district has historically always contributed and subsidized our food program so that we can keep our costs low so that families can eat. So,
Well, I still think that if we did it in-house, we would have a low loss. Because they're calculating in profit, and we're subsidizing the company, not necessarily our teachers or our students. We're subsidizing the company.
What's the board's wishes?
I would like to get the real numbers and not their suggested, costs. I'd like to really figure out what it costs them to prepare meals.
So, can I explain something that maybe will clarify this? Every month, they send me a statement. They send me copies of every invoice that they pay, which shows their food price. They show me any discounts they get from suppliers. They show me their labor costs. They show me their postage. They show me all of their costs. That's what they charge. So when they put together their budget, they're basing it based on what it costs for them to run the program. And this budget and the components of the revenues that go into that are what dictate what we owe. Of course, they're not going to run a hot lunch program for zero profit. That's not the model. It's not. They have to pay the people that run the program. I don't think that the margins are very high. Their labor rates are lower than some of the people that we have. So I can tell you that the invoices that they submit for food costs that go into their meals are reviewed and sent to us every month. So.
I don't have a motion, so unless somebody else does.
I was the one that was adamant to only raise it 10 cents. But again, looking at the other side of the coin, I really don't want the taxpayers to have to recoup on the other end, I guess.
And I think it was very generous of the board to want to, and very thoughtful to consider teachers and, to try to keep their meal price low. again, based on, informal conversations and cafe services, it's a relatively small number of teachers that buy full meals. A lot of us go in and buy something a la carte, because we're going to grab something quick and scoot out. Obviously, we leave this in your court.
What's the kid's price? $350? Thank you.
No, it's $285
$285.
this year.
What does it cost for a children's?
$4 is still a bargain anywhere.
Are they ultimately saying for a children's meal, it's $4 technically
It's a
for them to make it?
calculated thing that changes
well?
every year, but and I don't have the PLE tool in front of me, but I did bring that back
Yeah.
in May. I believe the cost was $350. You don't have to raise your paid lunch prices by any more than 10 cents, even if there's a differential that's calculated. And this board opted to raise it the 10 cents so that we met PLE, but not to raise it to what it was calculated at. And that calculated amount, I should add, also takes into consideration subsidies, reimbursement rates from the state. We get money back on lunches that we serve to kids.
Right,
So,
which we don't for the teachers.
correct.
The teachers just go to the profit
Right.
food service company.
Well, I'll make the unpopular motion. I'll make a motion that we raise it from the $360 that we agreed on to $4 for staff lunch.
I'll second.
Second by Linda. Discussion?
Yeah, I'm just disappointed that we didn't hear from Cafe Services the answer to our question. They brought forward a recommendation of $4 based on the fact that, I wouldn't even say fact, based on their assumption that they can't, serve the teachers for less than $4. And then when we asked them for clarification, they came back with exactly the same statement. They didn't provide any new facts, as far as I'm concerned. And that's disappointing.
Further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No?
No.
3-2, motion passes. Okay. What else? Anything else?
Nothing else under
Nothing under
old
old business?
business, unless
Okay.
there's anything else. Bring up.
You want to go into nomination?
We're just about approaching the hour mark. Before I close out, I do want to say this. As school begins for students next Tuesday? Wednesday? Wednesday. Staff starts
Monday.
Monday. As the public is aware, we ordered an independent investigation based on a police report that we received back in May. That investigation has been done, has been reviewed by legal counsel. We've had personnel discussions based on the results. And I will say that Miss Ruth Ellen Vaughn has been invited to return to work tomorrow as the acting superintendent for this coming school year. She will be returning to her office tomorrow morning. Mrs. Gardner, the Farmington High School principal, has returned to Farmington High School and will be at the helm of Farmington High School also for this coming school year. A synopsis of the report is being prepared by our legal counsel as well as an additional statement which will be our official press release which details some of that information. But I think the community can rest easy that we've learned a lot from this process. And we will be making some changes in how we've conducted and done things in the past, and we'll be working with the Farmington Police Department and the new SRO moving forward to make sure that the Farmington schools are a safe place. And I believe they are. So that'll be coming soon. If you have any questions, you certainly can email me, and I can answer whatever I can try, but, some of it is a personnel issue, and some of it stays private, but we will be releasing a statement later this week. I'm going to close the public hearing at this time. We didn't unless we have anybody here that wanted to talk about anything about the public hearing. And do we have anybody that wants to discuss anything in public at this time? Okay. Then we do have some interviews coming up, but we also have some other non-public items to address. So I'll entertain a motion to go into non-public, we'll call it 1, for nominations and resignations under RSA 91A:3, 2A, B, and C. And remember, folks, our next meeting is right here on September 9th, and good luck with the opening of school, and I'm sure that we'll hear all the principal reports, hopefully on the 9th. Do I have that motion? So moved by Mrs. Moran, second by Ms. McElhenney. All those in favor by roll?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, folks. Good night.
Thank you.